It's taking forever today for the stuff to come up, but it is surely coming up slowly but surely. Okay, turn everything off. All right. Let's go live on Twitter. Let's go live on Facebook. And we are live. Thank you for everybody for joining the Welcome Home Podcast. I am your host, Famously Garnet, and I'm joined by my co-host Q.
What it do, y'all? What it do?
And in today's episode, we're going to talk about recruiting. We're going to talk about the off-season talk. And we're going to talk about, what's going on in the NFL training camps for our guys as well. So it's going to be a fun-filled episode. Not a terrible ton that's going around right now, but it is something that needs to be talked about right now, and that is recruiting. Obviously, it feels like the sky is falling, but Q is reality. Is the sky truly falling with South Carolina recruiting right now?
No. No. So a lot of people have asked me in a different spots of like how they feel where we're at as far as recruiting is concerned. And I think people lose sight, to be honest with you, FG, that we were 5-7 last year.
Mm-hmm.
And so the recruiting class we brought in was brought in off of a 8-5 season. We were just happened to be able to hold on to that squad through a 5-7 season, mostly because a lot of those guys came to games and they knew what was going on. So
right,
we could always look there. We could start there. We brought a lot of talent in. So what you're missing on, in my opinion, is people have a lot of unknowns. It's different coming off 5-7 season and you bring in like a Spencer Rattler or anything like that. But now you're coming off a 5-7 season with a redshirt freshman going to be your starter, and which I have no problem with because I know what Lenore Sellers brings to the table.
Right.
FG knows what Lenore Sellers brings to the table. A lot of Gamecock Nation knows what Lenore brings to the table. So, am I worried about recruiting right now? No. I am more concerned and worried about August 31st. If you have been in our spaces recently, if you have been around us recently, I have preached time and time again, I'm ready for games. Games change everything. When I say everything, it changes everything. A 4-0 start will change everything.
Yeah.
A 3-1 start will change everything, depending on how that one loss is looked at. Absolutely. And where it comes in. A 8-win season changes everything. I can't emphasize this enough. If our guys are able to execute and come off of what they have this offseason, which we're going to get into the preseason talk here in a second, that recruiting situation changes. You have to understand, if you don't see how good Shane Beamer is at recruiting, I don't know what to tell you, because Shane is look at what Shane has done as far as identifying talent, bringing talent to the table. Look at where these guys are going. We had a guy today flip from us to LSU. Yep. So, like, you got to think of those things, guys.
Yeah. Now, Q, I would ask you this, and it's worked for our old friends at the Upstate, right? The way that they've done recruiting, right? For the most part. Is it time to kind of change the way recruiting goes for us a little bit? Because for me, it's like you commit to South Carolina, but yet you camp and you go elsewhere. You go to these different places to see what else you can get. To me, it almost feels like, and it's gotten to a point where, not saying that South Carolina is essentially a stepping stone, but it's sure starting to feel like we could be becoming one. And the reason why I say that is that this is not the first time this has happened with this recruiting class, right? A kid commits to South Carolina, camps somewhere else, gets an offer, flips the next week. I mean, this is something that we've seen a couple times this season, right? Already in this recruiting class. So for me, I have to ask, is it time to look the way South Carolina recruits? Is it time to switch it up a little bit?
I think the time has passed for that because
Okay.
I do genuinely think, hot take, Dabo telling these kids they can't commit until they and they have to shut down their commitment or their recruitment when they commit. I
Right.
do not think it will last these next few years with the way NIL is going, with the way things are changing. I just don't think that is a formula that will last.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I also don't think we are I think we're not a stepping stone. I think we're more of a placeholder at the current moment than a stepping
Okay.
stone. Stepping stone, you don't get a Dylan Stewart.
Fair.
Placeholder is you can get a Dylan. It's
Fair.
all about can you keep Dylan. So
Right.
I think we're at a placeholder at the current moment. That's me being brutally honest. But the way you change from a placeholder into a serious program, it goes back to what I said earlier. It's wins. So, once again, Gamecock Dave, I'm going to shout him out every time when I say this because he's the one that came to us about this situation. If we do what we need to do this year, next year will be a time where it's going to be hard to beat South Carolina. If we do, we're talking about a 2010 to 2013 type of situation playing South Carolina if we do what we do this year. If we do what we need to do this year. The talent that returns next year, if we're able to hold on to all that talent, keep all that talent, and add on to that talent, but the core group that returns next year, I mean, FG, it's similar to what you're looking at in the 2010s, the 2012s, those type of situations. 2011 was an anomaly. I don't care what anyone says, top to bottom, talent-wise, 2011 was the best team we've ever placed on a football field in history.
Yep. Yeah.
That team literally in history is the best team we've ever placed on a football field, and it's literally not even close.
It's sad we didn't have the playoffs, man, back then.
Oh, the playoffs. The playoff.
Shame.
If we had a 12-team playoff at that point, that team makes it.
Oh yeah.
I think Spurrier's mindset would be different, and then that team makes it. So
Yeah.
when you're looking at the playoffs and things like that, I do wish we had that there. But with recruiting, to me, these were essential guys you had to have and you had to keep in the class.
Mm-hmm.
You need a quarterback. You got that in Cutter Wood, which, folks, we can't be mad when others flip when we flip somebody from another school.
Yep.
You definitely 100% needed to keep Shed in the class. Surratt had to be in this class.
Yep.
An in-state offensive lineman could not leave the state.
Right.
Could not leave the state.
Yep.
You had to get Leach on this team. You had to get Leach on this team from Abbeville. You had to. Marcus Leach, you had to have him on this team. That kid's talent is unreal. You had secure guys from the state that you had to do it because that 2026 class is going to be dangerous. Mm-hmm. Shane himself has to make 2026 work. He has no choice.
Yeah.
It has to happen.
Yep.
So with 2025, let's see. Because I promise you all, I said it before and I'll say this again. There are a lot of recruits that are trying to see what we do this year. If you get to them 8 wins, you'll see our name come up a lot more. Yep. So that's my stance when it comes to the class. You're gonna have to. You're gonna have to. We have what's that? Three guys looking at. We got about 3 guys looking at the committing this weekend. And so I think we get 2 of the 3. I think we possibly could get all 3. If we get all 3, things change drastically at that point. Mm-hmm. You're looking at like major changes in my opinion, at that point. Okay. Like you looking at some heavy. So Kendall Daniels is committing this weekend. Right. I believe that one's going to be a good one for us.
Yep.
You have Jaden Gilchrist, who legit Jalen has been on campus a lot of times. We've worked hard on this recruitment for years. Maryland's making this very interesting from what I've heard.
They are.
But I haven't heard anything that changes my opinion that we should be able to get Jalen in the fold.
Yep.
Now, Jared Smith. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Jared Smith. This is, once again, because this is not the first recruitment we've dealt with this in this class. There's a guy that's already decommitted that this same situation happened. We identified a talent. We pursued that talent. We led for that talent. And then other schools want to come in and try to, what's the word I want to use? Try to jump us for that talent. Jared Smith's from Alabama. Auburn is a team that's making a push. Auburn's making that push is because they've missed out on a lot of guys that they thought they were going to get.
Yeah.
And so then when you do that and you look and you say, hey, I got a 4-star talent in state. We don't want them to go. Well, what do you think they're going to do? You're going to bring out cyber trucks and whatnot. It's one of those things like what can you say to that? What can you do about that? That is where it's at. If Jared chooses Auburn, I cannot fault him for staying home. No matter how you want to feel about the situation, you cannot fault him for staying home. But we've met Jared. We got to meet him at the spring game.
Yeah.
One thing about him, he doesn't seem like the guy that you can just come in late and make this impression and make him feel special, knowing that he was there the whole time and you're just not making a push.
So what you're saying is going to take more than a cyber truck with an Auburn sticker or magnet or whatever it was on it to get Jared to come to, Auburn.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. I genuinely believe that's where we're at with it.
That was such a wild move. When I saw that pop up on the timeline, you had Jared Smith coming out of a Tesla Cybertruck, which, by the way, that is one of the ugliest vehicles in existence next to the Pontiac Aztek. Shout out to Breaking Bad, right? But, god dang, what are we doing? In some schools you have them popping up in Lamborghinis, Ferraris, you're leasing these cars, these Corvette C8s and all that. And at Auburn, you're popping up in a Cybertruck.
Yep.
Golly, man. Let's not talk about it. It looks like a stainless steel, mini fridge on wheels. That's what the damn thing looks like. Just
correct.
Or a chest, like a deep freezer chest. That is the ugliest thing, the ugliest car out there. And I don't understand why people have such an appeal to it. Maybe it's the price point. I don't know. But coming from somebody in the industry, that just doesn't do it. So I agree with you. I think
I drove by one on my way home, so I agree. It's really,
I had
really shaped.
I had one cut me off in Greenville about a couple months ago, and I had never felt more disrespected. I was like, man, I just let a Cybertruck cut me off, and I'm in my truck. I'm like, no, I have a truck. You have whatever the hell you call that thing is. That abomination. Yeah. That's not a truck.
Yeah,
but you are $50,000 better than a Honda Ridgeline. That's what you are.
Ouch.
Yeah,
I don't know if I take that. If I'm a Cybertruck owner, I don't know if I take that.
Well, I hate to say it. Look. I could go on and on about Cybertrucks. I could. Man, I could destroy it. I could destroy, Elon and his Cybertrucks. They're just not going to right now. It's a time and place for everything. I'm not doing that.
Well, like I said, they put on the stops. It's easier for him to get to Auburn than it would be to South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, if we were closer to where he lived, I do believe, one, the recruitment would have already been shut down. But two, I do believe we would have gotten a visit from him. So
yeah.
I'm saying all that to say I genuinely, and I mean this from my heart, genuinely want you guys to understand recruiting is a marathon, not a sprint.
Mm-hmm.
And so with us going this marathon to get to where we are, we got to play ball. There's some teams that if we have a better record than them, we will probably get a recruit from them.
Yeah.
One team for sure, Maryland.
Well, and the one thing I want to point out about Gilchrist recruitment, and his mom has said this on the timeline, that wherever Jalen picks, right, she's living there. So, what are you choosing? Are you choosing Maryland? Are you choosing South Carolina? Well, the thing is, it seems like everybody up here, right, in Maryland, in the northern states, they're moving down. They're coming down
Mm-hmm.
south.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know. I mean, um, we'll see how it all plays out. One thing I am kind of surprised by, not really, but I'm shocked a little bit, was Malik Clark's recruitment, right? South Carolina really thought that they had this one. They really thought after the work that Furry put in, and then all the time that he put in this recruitment, South Carolina's camp felt really good. And when you feel really good about it, you have your guys, the beat writers. They all go to the commitment, right? They go to the ceremony. So when you see these guys make that trip with Wes Mitchell, Gamecock Central, and he goes to Rock Hill to cover the commitment, normally that's a good sign. So when everybody was shocked about him, picking Florida State, everybody was shocked. The only people that knew that he was going to Florida State were the people in his camp and his camp only. The Florida State writers had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting, and I would say just follow this recruitment until the end, right? For this one for sure.
Yeah.
Because I don't particularly feel like it's over yet.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see. We'll see. I would say this.
I mean, we weren't even in it.
Right.
I know I can speak
all.
for I know in April we weren't in this.
No, we weren't. We know that for a fact we weren't.
We know for a fact we were not in this. And so Fury did his thing. I think production on the field, I keep beating this dead horse. Everything comes down to the field.
Sure.
What do y'all think would happen if we turn around and beat LSU?
Mm-hmm.
So then what do you think happens then? Well, you beat LSU, now they're looking like, well, shoot, Jaden's like, oh, well, shoot, I was over here already. Then I went over here, but really, maybe better over here.
Yep.
It's not to say everybody can come back. I know that for a fact. I don't know if anyone can really come back at this point because Shane has been disrespected since the last snap in Williams-Brice Stadium against Clemson. Shane's been disrespected the entire offseason, man.
You want to talk about the disrespect for Shane right now is that, for example, South Carolina finally got the rights to Beamer Ball, right? After taking it from he who must not be named is what we say, right? Mm-hmm. After South Carolina got it back, the fans of Virginia Tech, for whatever reason, they feel like Beamer Ball is their thing. Well, when the one that this started from, right? When Frank Beamer was at Virginia Tech, when the dad wants the son to have something and the university goes after it, why is this such an issue? And so you see the absolute disrespect coming out of the woodworks for Shane right now from these Virginia Tech fans. And it's like, guys, don't speak on a situation that you have no idea about because that's not how it went down.
I think
the
a lot of
disrespect is going to make money off of this.
Yeah, like I think a lot of disrespect has happened for Shane since he's really gotten in the role, period. But
for sure.
Definitely this offseason. Mm-hmm. And I think Shane's definitely like, hey, something's got to change.
Yeah. Look, I have nothing bad to say about Shane's mentality. I have nothing about his mindset, the way he looks at doing things, the way university talks about having love, showing compassion, everything else. That builds a great culture, right? But I think this offseason, as we've talked to players, as Lenore Sellers has said, as Shakai Moore has said, Debo Williams, Jalen Kilgore, Kai Kroger, we can go down this list that we've had these conversations with that nobody in media has had yet, except for us, about what they've said about Shane's mentality and the way he's looked in this offseason.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look, when they snap that ball, right? When we snap that ball first game against Old Dominion, I think it's going to say a lot. I really do. I think people need to understand that with South Carolina, there's more to it than meets the eye, right? And people just go off of what they saw last season, and they call it that's the way next season's going to play out, and that's like why Shane's going to get fired. That's why these people have this mentality this mindset because they look at what happened last year and they think, oh, well, South Carolina's going to do this because of their offensive line's not good, it's trash, yada, 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 because they did not do the proper research. They did not watch the film. They did not understand that over 10 offensive linemen were hurt last season. I don't get it. I don't get it, but I think we're going to finally see, right?
With the depth that we have on defense, which we haven't had that kind of depth in a long, long time. I mean, that alone should make you want to be like, okay, this team might be on to something.
Right.
You don't have film on Lenore Sellers like that. So I don't see it's a word I want to use. I don't see how you think this is going to be worse, especially with that O-line being healthy and now guys that you wouldn't have normally got experience for have experience. So now you guys are you're kind of going on a limb with it. But it's fine. I get it. Your thought process, once again, if our names on our chest were not South Carolina, if it was Alabama, if it was Georgia or something else, and we brought back the depth that we were bringing, and the O-line was hurt, but now they're healthy, no questions asked. This team's going to go far. When Georgia starts a new quarterback, the team's still going to go far.
Yeah.
So, to me, everything starts at the line of scrimmage, and we really address that. So, now my question is, well, let's see what happens. What genuinely happens here? Because if you can go 6 deep at DT, 6 deep at D end, 6 deep at linebacker, and about, what was that, 5 deep corner, and was that 6 deep at safety? I mean, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
You got a lot of guys coming back. You got a lot of guys healthy. You got a lot of guys that's been in the system. You literally can go 8 to 10 deep on offensive line. Actually, you really can go deeper than that.
Hey, Chakai said, like, if the injury bug does come back, there's no chance of it playing out like it did last year.
You're good at quarterback. You've revamped the. I mean, you know what? Bump it. Let's hit on preseason. What you guys are about to see. We start practice Friday.
Yep.
What you're about to witness is everything that is accumulated from the last snap against Clemson all the way until Friday. Those guys are sick and tired of hearing about last year.
Yep.
They are sick and tired of missing a bowl game. They're sick and tired of all those things. So now we have a new season upon us. Tomorrow Shane talks. Friday we're on the thing. So what are we gonna do? You have an inspired defense, and a completely inspired defense. You have a new offensive line. You have a new quarterback. You have a stable of running backs now.
Yep.
What do? My biggest thing is, how does the receivers progress? Who's going to start at corner? How deep do we go at corner? And can we stay healthy? That's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I mean, staying healthy is the massive thing about it. And I think people don't talk about enough about Sean Elliott's return to South Carolina.
Big time.
That is something that, bro. Some people have kind of talked about, but we need to really look back about like what kind of difference he made for South Carolina when he was here.
You're right.
Okay. And I'm not talking about the whole interim coach thing. We're not putting that on Sean Elliott. No. And if you do, look, you can go follow a different team.
Yeah, that wasn't.
You can go follow a different team. That was not on him. He did not put South Carolina in that situation. Now, bringing Sean back, though, man, I mean, that's huge. I mean, that brings a different mentality to this team. Maybe not a whole different one, but adds to the mentality of this team. We've heard the guys talk about Sean Elliott being back in South Carolina. We've talked about the excitement, the factor that he brings, how people get, what he's brought to the locker room. We've talked about all this already with these guys. I think South Carolina, when it comes down to it this season, they're going to write a different narrative that people are just not simply ready for. They're just not.
I think Shane's going to show you why Shane was such a a commodity as a head coaching prospect.
Mm-hmm.
Contrary to what you guys heard, Shane was up for head coaching jobs before this.
Mm-hmm.
Shane always wanted to be a Power 4 head coach.
Mm-hmm.
That was his goal. He's achieved it. So Shane, as I stated before, when Shane first got here, there's going to be good days. There's going to be bad days.
Yep.
Shane had to experience the bad days a lot last season.
Mm-hmm.
Experienced a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
But what did he learn from that is what we're going to see year 4.
Yep.
And you're already seeing it in the weight room.
You are. Oh, my
You
God.
are already seeing that in the weight room.
Can we talk? I mean, look, it's already been talked about, right?
Yeah.
But that picture of Dylan Stewart from
Before
when he
and
got
after?
to South Carolina, before and after.
Is insane.
And here's the thing, like, this isn't just it, though, man. Like, we've been
Did you see
around the
Gerald
guys this
Kilgore?
offseason.
That should show you
Yeah.
the mass. Gerald Kilgore was already in college. He was in a college, like he was already in college.
Yeah.
And look at him now.
Oh, I mean, Gilbert Edmond.
Yeah.
Gilbert Edmonds, he's bulked up, and he was at Florida State.
That's all I'm
You know,
saying.
if you show these differences, if you could show the comparisons and contractions between and contrast against all these different universities that these players come from, and the difference that South Carolina is making, and if they're making how much, I think there's a huge talking point there.
That's all I'm saying.
We saw these guys in the offseason. I saw, Chikai, Rashawn, Lenoris, TJ Sanders. I mean, these guys have gotten bigger.
All I know is everybody's ready.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has a chip on their shoulder. Everybody is ready. And I'm telling you now, if these boys can get off to the start they need to, that I think they can get off to, bro, we're going to be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
If the defense can show up and do what they did to build off of last year, we're going to be a problem. If the offense can show up, bro, Nick has focused nothing but, ever since he's done with track, he's done nothing but football.
Mm-hmm.
And his route running has gotten so much better. The game is slowing down for him.
Yep.
You still got Joshua Simon and Brady Hunt, 2 tight ends that are literal threats to catch the ball. Not just blocking, but threats to catch the ball. I think people need to understand where we are at is further along than you think we are as a program.
And the offseason talk about Rocket in this offseason.
Yeah, man.
Obviously, we have not seen Rocket to his full potential since, his beginning time at Arkansas. When we played against him, right?
Right.
So, Rocket Sanders has taken that step where it looks, from what everybody's hearing right now, I mean, even Mike Yuva pointed out today on the timeline, that we may be back to the Rocket of old. And that's the thing that a lot of teams are fearing if you're playing South Carolina. Because think about it. Take a moment and think about how last season played out, right? You had Dak Joyner, love Dak to death, but he's not a running back. He's not a running back. But he made the move to help the team.
Yeah.
Now you have a proven running back.
An SEC proven running back.
And exactly, an SEC proven running back.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you build depth back there. I mean, you have so much more, like you've already talked about, at the running back position. You have a whole stable of them, right?
Yeah. Oscar Attaway is no joke.
No.
That's a 1-2 punch you want in Sanders and Attaway. And honestly, I really want to redshirt Howell and let Braswell go to work.
Yeah.
I think those 3 guys can handle the year.
Yeah.
I think they can. And you dump Howell in here and there so he'll be ready for next year. Because while he's a great running back, you need him to get acclimated to the SEC first.
Right.
Especially the way the schedule runs out. If you get I've said this 150 times. If we get 3 to 4 wins in September, the August, September, we get 1 win in October. If you can beat 1 team, possibly 2 in October, And November, you go ahead and run November with at least 4 wins. That's 7 to 8 wins, bro.
Yeah. It's not look, it's not out of the realm of possibility. It's really not.
It's not.
It's simply not. And after talking with these guys, I mean, it's just sure we heard off-season talk last year, and obviously you got to get through this the rest of this off-season
Mm-hmm.
as healthy as possible, right? I mean, you got to limit your injuries, of course. Everybody knows that. But the thing is, right now, I mean, there's only like one guy that's having an issue, right, as far as injury goes. So I mean, they've talked about it, but everybody else right now is healthy. Going
Correct.
into practice. So and think about it, a lot of these guys, they were allowed to go on vacation. They were allowed to go visit their family and all this, that, and the third,
Correct.
but they didn't. They
Especially in May.
didn't.
The offensive line
No.
stayed in May.
Offensive line stayed in May. Rocket Sanders, I believe, also stayed in May. I mean, you have so many different guys. And look, and here's the thing also about Nick. Once again, this narrative about Nick and focusing on track the whole time, he didn't just focus on track, guys.
Correct.
He
That's
was
correct.
with the
That's the
jugs
truth.
machine at night,
Mm-hmm.
like late.
Him and Lenoir were throwing with each other.
Yeah.
Like Lenoir was
Yeah.
always throwing with him.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I said I don't understand this narrative of like he's not going to be ready, because he is going to be ready.
Right.
He's 100% going to be ready.
Yep.
So you guys got to understand. Friday is going to show you a lot of like where their energy is, where they're at, because they understand as a group, hey man, we about to get ready for the season now. It's different when you're getting ready for the spring, but when you're getting ready for the season,
Mm-hmm.
oh, that's a different ball game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we're at now. Now we're finna get ready for the season.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited, man. I feel like South Carolina just taking a different step in this offseason. I'm not saying that to be funny. I'm not saying to be biased.
Mm-hmm.
Just from what from what I'm seeing, right? And for what I'm seeing with my ears, for what everything, right? Or from what you hear with your eyes, what you hear with your ears. I mean, that's the thing. Like everything just seems different with South Carolina this offseason than what we've heard from in the past. It's not just talking. And Shane's made hires in this offseason. He had to make a couple hires. He had to make a couple decisions that he didn't want to make. And that's the thing. Like, that's where people questioned about could he be a coach, is making these changes when it was needed. Obviously, look, Justin Stepp, love the guy to death, but his recruiting was not there. His recruiting was simply not there.
No.
His development, I mean, it was in question. Did he develop some guys? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So there were decisions made. There were coaches hired. I mean, look, they did exactly what they needed to do in the offseason to prove that we're going to change it. We're going to change our narrative, and we're going to do it in 2024. And people aren't ready.
You're right.
Are not ready.
You're right. I'm interested to see how that narrative changes in 24. I'm ready for the season. Like I said, August 31st is what I'm ready for.
Yep. Yeah, me too, man. Well, obviously, college off season is one thing. The NFL, on the other hand, there's been some guys turning up in the NFL. Marcellus Dial, Spencer Rattler. I know you saw that video the other day from that absolute dime from Spencer Rattler in training camp.
Hope y'all sent it to Pete Thamel, though. Hope y'all did send it to him, because I know he's got me blocked. Otherwise, I'd have sent it to him.
Well, I tell you this. I did send it to our friend Ryan Wilson over at with the first pick on CBS Sports with his podcast. And he did share with former GM Rick Spielman. So Rick Spielman is not a Spencer Rattler. I would say he's a hater like Thamel was, but he was not a fan of Spencer Rattler either when it came to the NFL draft. And so I told Ryan to send pass the message over, and he said he would. So it's gonna be interesting to hear what Rick Spielman has to say about Spencer Rattler going forward. And now next guy, Xavier Legette, right? Xavier Legette has been phenomenal in Panthers training camp. He's been tearing it up. He's been all the talk of the town. Even before they got into it, obviously people were catching up on his accent, that true Mullen, South Carolina accent, and learning more about his story, right? As most people do know or they don't know, Xavier had a different childhood than some. Lost his mom and dad, and it just battled through adversity, right? Well, I'm going to play a clip here that Fanatics put out today, basically talking about Xavier Legette, but also who's delivering this message. If you haven't seen it, go ahead and get some tissues because you may shed a tear. But let's go ahead. We're going to play this video live so everybody else can see it.
Anthony Xavier Legette, XL, my grandson. Little did we know when we were sitting in the bleachers watching Little League that it would lead to this. I know that your mother, that your father, that they are smiling down from heaven. You got this, and you better act like you know.
I got that feeling like I want to shed a tear. I just won't let myself do it.
Ain't nothing like grandma. Ain't nothing like grandma, man.
Like grandma like raised him, man. Like it's it's when I watched that the first time, I ain't gonna lie, dude. I did shed a tear. That was unreal. You know, because in the off season, or even throughout his time at Carolina, I've kind of got to get to know the Legette's family a little bit. And man, they love mama. You know, they love grandma. And you feel it every time I would post about Xavier on the timeline. I don't know. I mean, you would feel the passion, the love, and you know, it just, of course, it's sad to lose a parent. Thankfully, I haven't had that happen yet, but I can imagine it's not easy.
Correct.
And you know, it's just, hey man, that right there hits you in the feels. You know, it hits you in the feels.
You ain't lying. And Xavier's such a humble guy. Like, he really just wanted to grind it, man. Like, Xavier could have went anywhere, but he wanted to grind it out here. Mm-hmm. And that's a testament to who he is, not just as a player, but as a person. If you've ever got a chance to meet Xavier, he's a phenomenal person. A phenomenal person.
Yeah. And what you're seeing, man, you know, the cameras have not changed him. He's the same guy. We talk.
Same guy.
I talk to Xavier probably once a week right now, and he's the same guy.
Tell me, man. And then it's just going to be great because you're seeing, once again, Shane starting to fill those sidelines up, man. I don't know if anyone's caught that receiver show on Netflix. And Debo shows when he came down to South Carolina for the Jacksonville State game. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you guys, it's only a matter of time. We're going to have that culture on that sideline, man, where the guys from before are going to come back, be there watching games, in there for the big games. Ain't no telling who'll be on that sideline. The biggest thing about this is let's get those wins, man. Let's make the alumni proud, man. Because that's what we're going to do. It's the next step. Make the alumni proud, man. Mm-hmm. So that's where we're at with it. I'm telling you, that's what's going on. You got the preseason hype. I think where they said they have us, 12th or 13th?
Yeah.
I think we finished top 8.
Well, I mean, look. It's talking season. It's almost over. Ball's about to be snapped. The Williams-Brice Stadium. Obviously, something else is going on Saturday before they start getting the field prepped for football, and that is the soccer match versus Manchester United and Liverpool. Thankfully, I have been given access to cover that, so I will be there Saturday. I actually have a Zoom call, which if you're listening today, it's today. If you're listening or listening tomorrow, it's today. If you're listening now, it's tomorrow. But I have a Zoom call with the manager of Manchester United, so that's going to be interesting for sure. But I'm interested to see the turnout for that. I will tell you this: Columbia has done everything they needed to do to make this feel like a good, comfortable setting for them. And why does this matter for South Carolina? Why does this matter for Columbia? It's because you show what we can do as a city, because you're going to have a lot of people that are coming from out of town, out of states, out of the country for this event to see what kind of, city Columbia really is. And they're going to be able to see it. It's going to be put on full display. You're going to have many people flying in. We've already at the Columbia Airport. I just flew in from Miami on Monday, and at the Columbia Airport they have soccer ball logos on the or graphics on the side of the windows when you're coming into the
Oh
terminal.
yeah, I like that. I like that.
Yeah, and then they got the logo for the Man U Liverpool when you're coming into the lobby area, basically right
I
there
like
on the
that.
floor. So that's a really cool. And I also want to, another thing. I met a Gamecock fan in Key West, and not only did I meet a Gamecock fan in Key West, he listens to the show. He
Really,
follows Famously Garnet. Yeah, so
that's dope.
I didn't.
Shout out to him.
Yeah, so shout out to him, man. So like we're everywhere, bro. Gamecock fans are everywhere.
Yeah, and I think like I said, it was a rough year, but now it's time to bounce back.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is. It's been a rough year, but now it's time to bounce back.
Hey,
That's the biggest thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
bounce back seasons now, man. So we're on the right path. I think everyone should, like I said, tune in. We'll have more. I will be throwing up a Spaces on Saturday. Probably Saturday afternoon. I'll throw up a space and get us right for for after that, and because we have things coming now, guys. It's August.
Mhm.
Tomorrow is August 1st, so it's August. So it's time for us to get get to where we need to be, and then let's get this done. Let's get this bad boy done.
Yeah, we are so close. You can just smell.
Yeah,
You can just smell the air right now. You can
Yeah,
smell
man.
the fresh clippings. I mean, you can just we're almost there, man. We're
We are.
almost there. We've gotten this
are.
far. We got to EA College Football 25, which I know everybody is playing the hell out of.
Mm-hmm.
And South Carolina is still played every night by Cam Newton, which I mean, it's the least he could do, right? After the 2011,
That's
2010
true.
SEC championship game,
2010 was rough, man.
it's the least he could do.
Yeah, that was rough. So yeah.
So
So-
yeah, a lot of good publicity there. There's no such thing as bad publicity, right? So, gotta love that. So we're close, guys. 31 days right now as we stand. 30 days when you're listening today on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Hugh, you got anything else for the show, my man?
Nah, I think the people just like I said, don't lose sight in recruiting. Let's spot the ball. Let's let the games do the talking now. It's time for the games to do the talking. Talking season's done. It's time to let the games do the talking.
Yeah, and final thing too, before we sign this out for you in the show, is that we are seeing at least one guy so far get off social media, and that's Bam Martin Scott.
To
Bam
focus,
Martin Scott.
man. It's time to focus.
Yep. I told him, I said, it's time to lock in. He said, yep.
I see,
so,
man. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's a different mentality, man. A lot of those guys, they had no problem playing on social media all the time. But hey, you already see right there, Bam Martin Scott said, not me.
He's a leader. He's a
Not
leader
me.
on this team. So
Oh my gosh, having him and Debo, man, it's just unreal. We're very lucky, lucky to have those guys in our linebacker core for sure.
you're right. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, that's it, man. Well, that's it for the show, man. We appreciate everybody tuning in to the Welcome Home podcast. You can listen and review the show at Welcome H Pod on Spotify and Apple. You can follow at the Welcome H Pod on Twitter, Instagram. You can rate the show, leave a review. I'm Famous Garnet. Q. We'll see you next time.
Peace.